You know, how do you even begin to solve a problem as huge and as complicated as poverty? Well, today we're going to look at a really fascinating and, let's be honest, pretty unconventional answer called Kingdonomics. It's a framework that suggests a solution rooted not just in economics, but deep in faith. So let's dive in.
So to really get why this framework even exists, we have to start with the problem it's trying to fix. And this quote from the creator of Kingdonomics, Alexander Amuche, really hits the nail on the head. He saw that in communities facing just extreme hardship, faith can sometimes turn into this passive hope for a miracle, Instead of being an active force for change, it can create a cycle of just waiting instead of working.
And that brings us to a really powerful question. What if that exact same faith, instead of being this passive hope, could actually be channeled into a framework for productivity, for empowerment? And that's the core idea that Kingdonomics really sets out to explore.
Now, it's super important to be clear about what kind of poverty we're talking about here. This isn't about relative poverty, having less than your neighbor in a developed country. Nope. This model is specifically designed for what's called absolute poverty, the kind you might see in places like sub-Saharan Africa. We're talking about a lack of the absolute basic human necessities: food, clean water, shelter, with zero safety net to catch you if you fall.
And this kind of poverty, it goes so much deeper than just the physical. It actually inflicts this deep psychological trauma. The constant stress, the hopelessness, it can be absolutely debilitating. It creates this vicious cycle where it becomes incredibly difficult for someone to make informed, forward-thinking decisions for themselves or their family.
Okay, so what is Kingdonomics exactly? Well, here's the formal definition. It's an economic development framework that is explicitly, unapologetically faith-based. The key here is that it doesn't try to separate economic activity from spiritual belief. It actually weaves them together into one single, unified approach.
So, how does this actually work in practice? This is where the framework gets really powerful. It argues that every single person, no matter their situation, already has 5 core personal resources they can use to create real value.
It all starts with the tongue. This is about recognizing the power our words have, the power to build relationships, to speak with purpose, and to communicate new ideas. Then it moves to our thoughts. This is all about mindset, about intentionally cultivating innovation and planning. It's a direct counterattack to that psychological barrier of hopelessness we were just talking about. Third up is talent. The idea here is simple but profound. Everyone has unique gifts, unique skills that can be identified, developed, and then put to use to serve the community in a productive way. Fourth is treasure. And this is so important. This isn't just about money. Not at all. It's about wisely and ethically using any material resource you have, no matter how small it might seem. And finally, there's time. This is seen as the great equalizer, right? We all get 24 hours in a day. And this model sees that time as this incredibly precious resource that needs to be invested, not just spent. Okay, so once these 5 personal resources are really activated, they're then channeled through this simple 3-step economic cycle. It kicks off with righteous production, which basically means creating wealth through honest, ethical work. That then leads to peaceful distribution, making sure resources are shared justly and fairly, and it all culminates in joyful consumption, which is about enjoying the results of all that labor with a real sense of purpose and meaning. All right, we've seen the tools and we've seen the process, but what's this all leading to? What is the actual ultimate mission of Kingdonomics?
The ultimate goal is laid out in what the framework calls a 5-part mandate. And when you look at this, you realize, wow, this vision goes way beyond just finances. It's about freedom from bondage. It's about restoring vision, both physically and through knowledge. It's about improving community health. And it's about liberating people from systems that are unjust.
So here's the bottom line. Kingdonomics isn't just another anti-poverty program. It's really meant to be a blueprint for a complete societal transformation. By rooting economic principles in faith, it's aiming for a holistic kind of change, one that addresses not just the bank account, but the mind, the body, and the spirit of an entire community. And this brings us right back to the central idea of the whole framework, and it leaves us with a really critical question to think about. If the problem of absolute poverty is so deeply tangled up with spiritual and psychological trauma, can a purely economic solution ever really be enough? Or does the answer have to be just as holistic as the problem itself? It's a powerful idea to consider.